Garmlings, I have horrible news. I have once again been thinking. I know, okay? But after my Counter-Strike World Cup video, I really couldn't stop thinking about why is Russia so good at Counter-Strike? Not even just from the results of that video, but if you were asked today, what do you think the best country in all of Counter-Strike is? I'm sure we would get a few answers. France, Brazil, and of course Mongolia. But I do think without a doubt, the one that would get the most answers is Russia. When we were creating a team for them in that video, I mean, the talent was insane. It was one of the few teams where it was legitimately hard for multiple positions to pick players, and not because it was a country like Czech where I had two oppers, but just because of the overwhelming talent. There are so many riflers you could put in there. There's literally two top 3 oppers in the world from that country. I mean, it's insane, man. I mean, when you look at the upper echelon of Counter-Strike talent, it just seems like that country has a chokehold on it. Donk, Monesi, Shiro, even Axile for a bit, Kioske. And I mean, one of the biggest stories in all of 2025 was No Cries, who is also Russian. It seems like every single recent generational talent that we've had has come from this country. But like, why? You know, why is it always Russia producing these unbelievable gems? And I totally get saying, well, Molodoi isn't Russian and he's been, great this past year. And I would have to agree, but I wouldn't say Molodoi was like a generational talent coming out. At least my definition of a generational talent is someone who before they even step into tier 1 that they're going to be phenomenal. This was Monesi when he was on Navi Jr. This was Kioske when he was on Spirit Academy. Molodoi was great in tier 2, okay? He was dominant, but there were a lot of question marks from people as to whether he would be able to translate it into tier 1. And I mean, we have seen that he obviously can, but there were question marks there. In the 2024 top 20 list, there was not a single country with more than 1 player in the top 10 besides Russia, who had 3 players in the top 10. And I mean, it's not even just the upper echelon of talent either. It feels like Russia's depth of talent is also unbelievable. There are 100 billion young Russian players that just look great. I mean, look at Nemiga from Austin. Zwei was a miss on Spirit and he is now benched, but I think the potential is still there. And you also have Xanter from Nemiga, who still looks great. And I mean, we even have more young talents like Chopper and Fame and Flit and Perfecto and Electronic and even Doja. I mean, the future is bright, guys. Barmlings, have you been looking for a quick and easy way to cash out your Counter-Strike skins? Maybe you've just recently gotten the I need a new knife now itch. Well, look no further than today's sponsor, skins.com. Skins.com has a huge marketplace of skins that you can easily navigate through using their super simple search filter system. You can capitalize on some of the best rates in the entire industry with payment methods such as crypto, card, Apple Pay, PayPal, and more. Or if you want to get out of the skin game, they also have an instant sell feature. But this is unlike any one in the market. Normally, the site will take a fairly large chunk just for the convenience of you instantly being able to cash out, but skins.com gives you incredibly fair prices along with 0% fees, allowing you to keep every single cent. You can then easily withdraw with crypto or bank transfer. And along with all of this, they're even working on adding a peer-to-peer trading system in the near future. Thank you to skins.com for sponsoring. Check them out with the link in the description, and back to the video. Now you might be saying, Barmer, listen up, buddy. We have a bunch of great teams in this scene. It isn't dominated by Russia. I mean, we have Furia, Vitality, Mongols, even Mouse. Well, listen, okay, the scene isn't dominated by Russia. You are right. But there is a direct correlation from the switch of CSGO over to CS2, and I mean, something about CSGO gave Russian superpowers, and I've got the data to back it up. I decided to take into consideration every single tournament that Liquipedia considers an S-tier LAN. I might have accidentally included some online tournaments, but I tried my best not to. I'm pretty sure I didn't. And then I went to every single team that won and counted up how many players from each country won an S-tier LAN in every single year. And well, my findings may shock you. I stopped in 2018 partially because I'm lazy, but also partially because 2017 to 2013 was dominated by Sweden, France, Brazil, sometimes Denmark, sometimes Poland. And well, this just wouldn't really help our case when looking at the transition from CSGO to CS2. So I ignored it for the most part. Anyways, starting with 2018, here are my findings. The number of players from a certain country to win an S-tier LAN in 2018 was Denmark at 48, and then Sweden at 12, Finland at 7, Ukraine at 6, and the US at 5. This was, of course, when Astralis was dominant and they were a full team of 5 Danish players, so that ginormous ass gap really shouldn't surprise anyone. 2019 was the year of Liquid and Astralis, so Denmark would still be first at 27, but following them closely would be the US at 21 and Canada at 12, then France with 8, and in 5th place Bulgaria was 7. Fucking let's go, fellas. Then of course we have the weird online era. There was a couple lands from 2020 to 2021, but I'm not counting this because it was literally like 3 tournaments. But if you do want to know, Russia was in the lead at 15, Ukraine was at 10, and France was at 5. This was single-handedly because of Na'Vi and Vitality. Then in 2022, when we came back to our first full year of LAN tournaments, Denmark once again took the lead with 12. Russia was starting to gain some prominence as they had 8. And then it was Norway, Latvia, Canada, and Estonia, which is pretty much all because of FaZe. Then in 2023, Denmark is still leading with 14. Then France at 6, Israel at 6, Bosnia at 4, and Russia with only 2. So besides 2 wacky COVID years where we barely had any lands, at this point the scene was dominated by Denmark and Russia had not even touched the first spot. But then we switch into CS2. Since it was pretty much at the tail end of 2023, I'm combining 2023 and 2024 into one. And here we have Russia in first place with 19, then Ukraine with 12, Israel with 8, Bosnia was 6, Finland was 6, and France with 6 as well. As soon as CS2 was released, Russia immediately leapfrogged Denmark as the most dominant country in Counter-Strike. And this was followed up by a year in 2025, where Vitality was without a doubt the best team in the entire world, winning 70,000 fucking tournaments. And even still, France barely budged out Russia with their Budapest major win to take the lead at 18, and Russia would be right behind them with 17. Israel would follow them up with 12, Brazil with 9, and the UK with 9, and Estonia with 9. So even despite Vitality's dominant ass year, Russia still barely got beaten out. And well, I mean, this country is putting up numbers that we just quite simply never saw in CSGO, besides the online era period, okay? But like, their highest mark before this point was 2022, where they had a total number of 8. Then CS2 comes out, they jump up to 19, and then in 2025, they jump up to 17. I feel like Russia was never really thought of as a top country in the game until CS2 came out. I know I keep jumping over that online era in 2020 and 2021, and while I do feel weird to completely discredit that era, let's be honest, that team mostly ran through a Ukrainian and Simple, and the Russian players on the team were great, but Na'Vi was Simple's team, okay? Plus, you guys know me, okay? If something doesn't help push my narrative, I choose to simply ignore it, and that's just what I'm going to do. You have VP/Outsiders winning the Rio Major in 2022, but that would end up being an outlier, and it was the only tournament that they won all year. So once we switched over to CS2, something changed. It's like this new version of Counter-Strike scrapped all of the power from the Danes and converted it into all of the Russians. And while we also consider that the casual side of this game has been dominated by Russia for years and years and years, the most recent numbers I could find put Russia at 11.5% of all Counter-Strike players, which is the most from any country in the world. It was kind of strange that it took them this long to be dominant in the professional scene. Anyways, with these numbers I found, we can really come to one conclusion. There seems to be an immediate switch from Denmark being the dominant force in CSGO to Russia being mostly the dominant force in CS2. And well, I have a few theories as to why this might be the case. Now in theory 1, the most obvious thing we can point to is of course the emergence of Donk. He's helped Spirit become one of the best teams in the world, but I do think it's better to use Donk as an example as to how Russia has improved so much with the new game than to just say he is the only reason why they've improved so much. So flat out, theory 1 is just this. CS2 is just simply a better game for the talent Russia has and is a worse game for the talent that Denmark has. It's not really a secret that CS2 has boosted the absolute shit out of Peeker's advantage. It is a swing or be swung game for the most part. And I mean, when teams like Astralis and Heroic were dominating, did they really seem like aggressive swing out and fuck you in the ass type teams? They really weren't. Like, while these players mechanically were very good, the reason they were so dominant wasn't because they were all just these mechanical demons that had the aim of gods. They were more structured teams, had better team play, utility usage, and discipline. And I mean, when you think of Russia, they are little crackheads who will swing you and put you in a coffin. The best example of this is someone who was a star throughout a lot of their career in CSGO. And well, that is Electronic. And of course, today we have Donk. We can even prove this with just HLTV rating alone. Donk's all-time stats in CSGO are a 1.19. This in itself is pretty insane, but when we switch over to CS2, it goes all the way up to a 1.39. I get that it is HLTV rating 2.0 and 3.0. It's two different rating systems, but I do think for the most part it does get the point across that CS2 is the best possible game for aggressive riflers, and more passive players have seemingly taken a bit of a hit. We can use Donk's teammate Shiro as another example of this. Shiro in CSGO had a 1.26 rating, and then when we switch over to CS2, he goes down to a 1.18. There are of course other factors like this, like maybe Shiro is just worse at this point of his career, but I do think he's a great example of this because Shiro is one of the most passive AWPers we have in the entire game. So if there was anyone to use as an example for this, it would be Shiro, seeing as how AWPing got harder in CS2, along with it being worse to be such a passive player. So I think it makes sense that his rating would go slightly down while Donk's would skyrocket up. So it seems like case closed. More slow, defaulty players like Shiro have taken a hit with the new game, but most Russian players are not like Shiro. I would say most of the Russian talent is more similar to Donk than anything. I mean, just also look at Monesi. He's never been known as being a passive player. He's been one of the most entertaining, mechanically gifted players in the scene, and CS2 didn't make him worse, it just made him better, because this game just rewards raw mechanical skill so much more than CSGO did. So CS2 has boosted Russia's players like crazy. It seems like case closed at this point, but I do have a few more theories I would like to talk about. Alright, theory 2 is just me talking out of my ass, but I hope it'll make somewhat of sense, and I do think there is some validity to it. Let's look at Europe geographically as a whole, okay? Throughout Counter-Strike's history, we've had the most insane production from countries such as Denmark, Sweden, Poland, France, Mongolia, and recently Russia. What do all of these places have in common? North, cold, evil. If I lived in France, I wouldn't want to go outside either. I mean, come on, it's France. Compare this to a place like Italy. Bro, if I lived in a place as gorgeous and as warm and as nice as Italy, I probably would never want to go inside. I mean, another example of this is Australia. They suck cock because everyone's outside swimming in the damn coral reef. We got no players. Now listen, France, before you get angry for me calling your country cold and evil, every country is gorgeous in their own way, okay? This isn't me spreading propaganda. Where I live, it's cold and evil too. Why do you think I started playing Counter-Strike in the first place? But what I am saying is most of them are very far north, which means a lot of long, cold winters. I think all of these countries are so insane at Counter-Strike because at the end of the day, half of the year you don't want to go outside at all. And I mean, it gets to a point where like if you're inside all of the time, what else are you gonna do? And I mean, the biggest of all of these countries is Russia. I mean, do you see this big ass chunk of frozen land that is just barren and ice? While you might be freezing your tits off in Moscow, at least it is warm and dust too long. Plus, Russia has been one of the biggest supporters of esports in as early as 2001, as they would become one of the first countries to recognize esports as a regular sport. And I mean, I do think it's a lot more respectable of a career path in a lot of Europe than it is in the US. I feel like in Russia, if you say you want to grow up and be a professional esports player, they'll say, hell yes, brother. If you say you want to be a professional esports player in the US, you will get thrown into a locker, called a virgin, and given a course on how to day trade instead. Theory 3 is kind of a short one, but I did want to include this here as well. And, well, for the most part, it's just kind of adding up the numbers. It's insane to me how long it took for Russia to actually be a top country in the game. The switch over to CS2 really propelled them, but we should have been here long before this point. Looking at the pure population numbers of Russia, they have the most people in Europe by a lot, like a fucking shit ton. And like I said earlier, considering they also have the most percentage of people playing this game, truly, how did this take so long? No, like, I guess this really doesn't mean that much. If all that mattered was population, China and India would have been dominating this game from the get-go. I mean, the US would be a hell of a lot better because we have the second most people percentage-wise playing the game. So I guess it doesn't really mean that much. But I don't know. I thought it was interesting. I thought I'd throw it out there. And my final and fourth theory as to why Russia is slowly kind of taking over Counter-Strike is just the phenomenal structure they have for esports and Counter-Strike as a whole. I do like theory 1 a lot. I think Russia has a lot of aggro riflers and CS2 has boosted the fuck out of them. But then again, like, Russia does have other players who have been succeeding quite a bit. Not every single one of these guys is just swing and shoot you in the head. Like I said, Shiro is like the complete antithesis of this. Another guy that's the complete opposite of this is Jin. game. He was great before CS2 came out, obviously, but seemingly does still have a decent amount of juice, as Paravision has been quite a good team as well. So I think a huge supporting factor of all of this is just that Russia has the best supporting system in tier 2 and tier 3. Obviously, Monesi was a product of Navi Jr., but I mean, if you look at the overwhelming amount of support Russia has here, I mean, you have Spirit of Academy, which of course produced Donk and Kioske, Gambit Youngsters, which produced Shiro and Axile. If you look at tier 1, we have Spirit, who are now one of the best teams in the world. Virtus Pro has been kind of horrible, but they have a long history and are rich. There's tier 2 teams like Paravision, BetBoom, Hotu, Namiga, Cybershock, Sangal, One Win, Gun 5, Simple's Daddy, Ruby, VP Prodigy, Aurora, Youngblood, Force Reload. I mean, holy fucking hell. Every single one of these teams is paying their young players to play for them. This is an extremely healthy talent pipeline that goes all the way from tier 1 down to tier goddamn 8. Like, this is literally giant, biggest of the big tier 1 orgs, bigger org academy teams, subsidiaries of gambling companies, actual just smaller orgs. Like, the ecosystem here is just unbelievably healthy. So I feel like if your only goal in this life was to become a professional Counter-Strike player and you had to choose a country to be born in, I honestly think you would probably choose Russia. Like, I just think they give you the best chance to become a professional player. So I do know, like, obviously Russia doesn't have like a monopoly over the Counter-Strike scene. They aren't just the only good country, but from being, you know, fairly not great, kind of carried by Simple during the Navi era, I know the Russian players in the team were great, but you know what I mean, to now being able to stand on their own 2 legs and being some of the best, youngest, and most promising players in the scene. Since CS2 has come out, Russia has turned into one of the best countries in the entire game. There's just no other way to put it. And well, I mean, I gave you guys the theories as to why I think it is. It's not only Donk, while he has helped quite a bit. Donk is a great example of just how far Russia has come. CS2 has boosted aggro riflers like him, and Russia has them in spades. Russia is big and cold and evil, so you might as well play Counter-Strike. They own the game in a casual sense and just have a trillion billion people. And I mean, the talent pipeline and ecosystem in the Russian scene is honestly phenomenal. I do want to give a shout out because I think Brazil has a really good one as well, but it's not producing the type of players that the Russian ecosystem is. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it for me today, guys. I just wanted to yap about how Russia is kind of emerging as one of the top countries in the game. You can always come back to this video after Donk has won his 4th major, if Magix and Zontex can help him out, that is. But yeah, that's it from me, folks. I hope you enjoyed. Subscribing if you want to subscribing, liking if you liked the video, and notificationing me if you want to be notified. And I will see you guys next time.